to our transition night. Certainly is not the way we want to welcome people to Crestview, but we still wanted to make sure that you all had the necessary information to make sure that you had the opportunity to get your child registered for the correct courses and any classes that you wanted to do before we got up against that deadline. So we felt like this was the best way to go about it. I was telling somebody earlier, it was giving me a little PTSD from when we were on lockdown and I was Zooming from my basement every day. So I think I've recovered. I think we've got most of our hiccups cleared up. I'm sorry about how the communication went. We had that plan to go out Monday, so you all had plenty of time to know what the plan was as we were anticipating the snow coming our way, and we wanted to let you know that we're going to run this to Zoom in case that happened. I see many of you were able to get the follow-up message today, and then we had to hiccup with the Zoom link, which I don't really know what happened, but I know some people were able to get in, others weren't, so I just sent it to all of you again just to be safe. But again, I am Gary Jansen. I am the principal at Crestview. Joining me on here is Miss Allison Carroll. She is currently our 8th grade guidance counselor, and then she will roll back down to start 6th grade next year and will stay with your child for the next 3 years. So we typically have children that help us with the transition night. They were all jazzed up and ready to, share information with you if we were in person, but we had them record it this week. So I put together this video that I'm going to share with you now. That's going to give you kind of a lowdown of the beginning part of our presentation that we would have had with you. If you have questions, you can type them into the chat. Those will come to Miss Carroll and I as they come up. Hopefully we'll answer all of those as we go along. But if there are things that aren't answered, feel free just to type them in the chat. Give me a second to share the screen.
Parents, future Crestview students, and staff, welcome to the 2022 6th grade transition night. My name is Nadia Grace, and I am a 6th grader here at Crestview. I would like to introduce our building principal, Dr. Gary Jansen. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Carroll. She is currently the 8th grade counselor here at Crestview. She will be the 6th grade counselor for you next year. The 8th grade assistant principal is unable to be here tonight. The counselors and assistant principals will stay together with your students for all 3 years while they're at Crestview. I have a couple quick things that I would like to share with you about Crestview. First, we are recognized as both a Missouri School of Character and a National School of Character. Students at Crestview are expected to be kind to one another and exhibit positive character traits at all times. We are also among some of the top-ranked middle schools in Missouri according to niche.com and U.S. News and World Reports. Students are expected to work hard and achieve at high levels. Parents, you are encouraged to stay informed. Dr. Jansen will send you a weekly email along with a YouTube video all about the things that happen at Crestview. You can also stay connected through various social media platforms. Crestview students are expected to exhibit leadership behavior by lifting others up, engaging fully, accepting responsibility, developing and maintaining goals, empathizing with others, reflecting upon their actions, and serving others in their community. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Jansen once again to share more information with you.
We encourage all of our parents to get involved in our Crestview Parents Organization. There are many ways for parents to get involved in school. It can be done whether you chaperone on a field trip or you can volunteer to come up and help with various things throughout the school year. Important thing is that you can stay engaged with us through conversation and that you show your students that it's important to be involved in school and that you lead by example. Our mission at Crestview is that we cultivate interdependent learners through high expectations. So important things that come out of there is the interdependent, meaning that we expect our students that they will work with one another and do it collaboratively. And we do have high expectations, as Nadia shared in the previous part of this presentation. we are typically a highly ranked school in the state of Missouri, so we do have high expectations for our students. And our vision is based upon those three words: serving, learning, and leading. So throughout the years, we'll ask our students to get involved in some form of service. Every day, students are expected to learn something new. And as you can see from our presentation today, there'll be lots of students involved in taking on leadership roles. And that is evident through the things that happen at Crestview on a daily basis. If we would have been in person, you would have been able to witness this, but we did this pre-recording, and now I'm going to transition this to Tessa to talk about our language arts classes at Crestview.
My name is Tessa Mosby. I am going to talk to you about language arts class. As you can see from the pictures, students at Crestview are expected to read a lot. During the course 6th grade, students will gain new knowledge in 8 different units, 4 of which will focus on reading and 4 will focus on writing. Students will read both fiction and nonfiction texts along with various genres. While reading, students will learn to annotate and take note of what is happening in their stories. Students will write several papers along with doing research. Students can expect to read about 12 books throughout the year. To meet this goal, students will visit the library during class, track their daily reading, and set literacy goals. Many of these resources for this class will be housed on campus. My advice for next year's 6th graders is to work hard and try your best while working on assignments. It is super fun and the teachers are absolutely amazing. I assure you that if language arts is not your favorite subject, you will have so much fun and you will learn significant topics which will help you in the future. My favorite part of English language arts this year was when we got to do independent reading at the beginning of class. It was super amazing jumping into a book and being able to relax and enjoy it. It sort of felt like you were on your own zone and able to focus on the book. Our 6th grade language arts teachers are Mrs. Seibert and Mrs. Imordino on blue, Miss Voice and Mrs. Debron gold, and Miss Weidner and Miss Papenberg on silver. Now I would like to welcome Layla to speak.
All right. Good evening. My name is Layla Howard, and I am proud to have the honor of talking about 6th grade life science. During science class, students will explore the relationships of living things in an ecosystem and learn about matter and energy. We learned about the structures and functions and the process within cells and the various life functions of organisms. Along with this, we learned how different organisms adapt to their environments. Students will have frequent opportunities to utilize microscopes and partake in hands-on experiments. They will do field studies, including one as a fishing field trip. They will also investigate plants and animals. In previous years, students had outdoor learning, including a 4-day, 3-night camp experience in Babbler State Park. The 6th grade science teachers include Ms. Betts in Silver Hall, Mr. Poster in Blue Hall, and Ms. Kavanaugh in Gold Hall. My favorite part of science is when we do labs and play learning games that help us prepare for tests in a fun and educational way that makes learning fun. Now welcome Alexa.
Hello, my name is Alexia Bigley, and I'm going to speak with you about Math 6. Students in Math 6 class will spend a lot of time on number sense, theory, and numerical operations. We understand the ins and outs of fractions and some geometry. Proportional relationships, including rates and ratios, will be included. We have learned variables and expressions and equations. We will begin to think statistically even as 6th graders. Some students will be recommended for integrated Math 6, 7, or Math 7, depending on their current math class and scores. My favorite thing about math is the fun educational games we play, such as Mathable, Bazinga, and Grudge Ball. If I could offer you one helpful piece of advice, it would be to make sure you study before class, because you can get so much more out of lessons if you know what you were taught in the class before. The math teachers are Mrs. Modern in blue, Mr. Schneider in silver, and Mrs. Wistow in gold. I will now hand it off to Mattingly to discuss history.
Hi, I'm Mattingly. I'm going to speak to you about 6th grade world history. The focus on our history class will be around world history. Start with learning about early humans and the Stone Age. We explore several civilizations, including Mesopotamia, Egypt,
China, India, Greece, and Rome. We involved in learning about the Middle Ages in Europe along with ancient Africa. We learn a great deal about societies like the Mayans, Incas, and Aztecs. A lot of work is completed to Tanis and Google Classroom. My favorite part of history is fun booklets we do and have fun creating names for ancient China. My favorite unit is the one about Egypt. The history teachers are at SMS are Mr. Carpenter, Mrs. Easter, and Mrs. Still. Addie will not take over to discuss visual education. During physical education, we learn to play various team sports, besides learning new games and enhancing some skills in familiar games. We also learn vital life skills, such as collaboration, teamwork, and communication. There are several health topics that we learn as well, including hygiene, nutrition, our body systems, and about the harmful ways that tobacco and vapor can impact our body. Students will have PE every other day. We will wear PE uniform shirts, which can be purchased online before school begins or during the class first few days of school. It is recommended to think about getting 2 PE shirts so you can always have a clean one. My favorite part of PE is the several fun activities we do and the games we play. I also like to do the workouts because it helps you stay fit. The fitness rooms are also really great because there's so much great equipment. The 6th grade PE teachers are Mr. Metter and Mrs. Marquardt. Please welcome Rohan to talk to you about the Gifted program. My name is Rohan Mukherjee. I'm going to speak to you about the 6th grade Stretch program. Academic Stretch is a continuation of the gifted services for those students that have attended Center for Creative Learning in elementary schools. The initial focus will be on developing students' communication and executive functioning skills. Students will also explore filmmaking and sculpture. Other possible areas of study will be around forensics, our self-study projects in the form of Genius Hour, our 6th grade Stretch teachers and students.
Okay, so as you can see, we're going to expect our students to do a lot of the work when they come here. And that was kind of a brief lowdown of the things that we have happening at Crestview. Ms. Carroll's going to talk to you now about some classes. I just got to get to your right slide, Ms. Carroll. Give me a second.
All right. As he said, I'm Ms. Carroll. I'll be the 6th grade counselor. I'm the 8th grade counselor this year. And then I will loop back down to 6th grade, and I'll spend 3 years working with you and your families and your students. And that's one of my favorite parts of the job, is just getting to know families and developing those relationships during such a important time in kids' lives. So first, I got a chance to meet a lot of your students. On the 24th and 25th, I visited our 4 feeder elementary schools and presented information about enrollment. And there they got information about just our daily schedule. So we'll start with that. Our core classes meet for 90 minutes. Language arts meets every single day. Life science is a blocked class, so that will meet every other day. World history and math and PE also meet every other day. Every core class has a challenge option, and there'll be more information about that in the coming months. But there is a challenge option for science, history, language arts, and then with math, there are, there's kind of a sequential order to the math classes. And so again, more information to come. What we're going to be talking about tonight is just your electives, and that is kind of the first step of the process. But things to consider, just as you're going through talking about 6th grade courses, middle school should not become high school. It's such a crucial time for so many kids. There's so many different changes. Kids are trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in. And a lot of kids maybe never had to work really hard in elementary school. And with the increased workload comes added stress. especially as you progress from 6th to 7th and then 7th to 8th, and the 8th grade teachers preparing them for high school. And so anyway, there's plenty of time in high school to meet all the graduation requirements, but I don't want families or students to feel pressure about acquiring credits or getting ahead in classes and accelerating to get high school credits. Middle school should just be that time for them to try new things and have new experiences and try classes that kind of force them outside their comfort zone. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your courses. We do have some special school district supports available to students. The level of service or the level of support will be determined during a transition IEP. So if your student is currently supported through special school district, they will hold a transition IEP list this spring and talk about transition services. But there are some options in the middle school schedule. We have a resource class which meets during an elective. There's also special school district teachers that push into general education classes. There's also pullouts sometimes for certain services. Students will get pulled out. That's not as common, or replacement classes. We also have students that benefit from a checkout, but they would meet with their SSD case manager at the end of the day and go over what's expected, for homework and that kind of thing. Speech language services are usually like a push in. Either our SLP will join students in their science class or their resource class, or they might pull them out of gym. That's one of the instances where students might be pulled out, but again, not super common. So SSD will hold an optional meet and greet during the spring if those supports are relevant to your child. There's more information to come. Right, next slide. Can you advance this? Oh, there we are. Okay, so probably what most of you are curious about is the elective classes or the exploratory classes, because that, like I said, is kind of the first step in this transition process, is selecting those. The exploratory classes are for 1 quarter and meet every day, many of these. So these are options for all students. If students are not interested in taking a music class, they're not interested in band or choir, orchestra, then they will have all of these. And again, just look at it as a chance to try something new, to try to kind of stretch your child outside of their comfort zone or push them into something that they've never had the experience of doing. All right, so we'll go through these. Art is an art class. It's painting, mixed media, printmaking, sculpture. Design is more like 3D art, and they utilize different technology. They do some drafting, some mixed media. So it's just another art class taught by an art teacher, but different types of projects within art and design. Intro to theater arts would be a theater type class, but it's more than just acting. It's a class that, some kids are not so sure about, but it's, again, just a good experience. But they do go over some like principles of public speaking, or some different collaboration, public speaking, storytelling, improv. Then there's digital ignition, and digital ignition is, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by digital ignition. Back to that, it's a computer class, and so I'm sorry, we got on the wrong slide.
Yeah,
But
I just
anyway.
need a minute, Miss Carol. You can just talk for a second.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll go through these. So these were the quarter classes that were on your course selection form. And so I'll just kind of go down the line. So digital ignition is just a basic computer class. It covers Microsoft Office, Excel, Google Apps. They go over formatting and design skills. It's just some good and basic keyboarding. good skills for every kid to know. And then lastly, we have facts, and that kids spend about half the quarter doing food prep, safety and sanitation, those kind of things, and then half of the quarter doing some basic sewing projects. So, and then there's STEM explorations, and this is our class. It's kind of like a pre-engineering, pre-coding class. They do some 3D modeling, some problem solving, game design, and kind of an intro to computer programming. So if that sounds like something your child would be interested in, that's a popular class as well. All right, so we'll move on from there and we'll talk about our music classes. So we have very strong music department at Crestview. We have some options that I think, any kid could find one of these 3 classes that to just try. If you or your child ever had any desire to learn an instrument, 6th grade would be the chance to do it. Some of you have already been affiliated with orchestra, and if your child has any desire to continue it, they should definitely sign up in 6th grade, because you can't take a year off and then rejoin it in 7th grade. But our band program too would be for first time, people who are playing instrument for the first time. And then our choir is also a very strong program. There's several performances throughout the year. We have a treble choir and a mixed choir. So that's kind of just a rundown of the music options. These meet all year long. So that would take up 1 period of an elective, and then you'd have 4 quarter electives maybe to make up the rest of your schedule. So anyway, we'll talk about kind of how that would look in a typical schedule. I think that's the next slide. So I have had a couple people in years past that they're very interested in music and they want to try maybe band and choir or band and orchestra. Well, that is fine and that's allowed, but that would be their only electives all year long. So they might have band 3rd hour and choir 4th hour or something like that. And that would be it the whole year. So that is one option. That's one way that a 6th grade elective schedule could look. Can advance. Probably more common is the second option, and on your course selection form, these are listed out like option 1, option 2, option 3. So option 2 would be you're interested in maybe I'll try band and maybe and the other thing I should have said about band is a class where you don't have to know what instrument you want to play or want to try. You get a couple weeks to try out a lot of different instruments. So that is that's just for everyone to know, it's a beginner class. Everyone's trying something for the first time, trying an instrument for the first time. So anyway, if your child was interested in joining band, let's say in this scenario, they would have that for period 1, and then they might have 4 quarter classes that make up their second elective period. So that might be STEM, art, facts, and theater, let's say. That would make up their second period of their elective. Or there are students that are not interested in taking a music class, and they would get a chance to try out all 8 of those quarter electives. So they would have 2 different electives, quarter 1, 2 different electives, quarter 2, so on and so forth. They would get a taste of a lot of new experiences and a lot of new classes. And so that would be like an option 3. All right. So enrollment, I've had a couple, especially if you've had children go through Crestview, you may be thinking, I thought we did something online. Well, this year, all you need to turn in is your paper form. So we made it real easy for you. It's just a paper form. There's no online registration this year for 6th grade. So you can submit that form to your 5th grade teacher. And then if I have any questions, I'll reach out to your family directly. As far as teams go, and maybe you've heard about this from neighbors or friends, but we have three teams, at every grade level, there's blue, gold, and silver. And these are simply our school colors. There's no meaning behind the colors. There's no hard team. There's no best team. There's no, easy team or anything like that. It just means it's just a grouping of teachers. So if you and a buddy get on the same team, then it means that you have the same math teacher, the same history teacher, same language arts teacher maybe. And then, and so anyway, you might not have those classes together, but you will have those classes within the same hallway. You'll have a locker in that hallway. And we do make sure that each team is diverse. Each team has the same spread of students that maybe receive extra support, or students who are identified as gifted. So they're equally diverse, and your teams will change from year to year. So just because maybe your child was assigned 6 silver doesn't mean they'll be in 7 silver. It's just a kind of a random assignment on the computer typically. But if you had if we needed to separate kids or something like that, the teams are a good way to do that as well. There are classes and there are chances during the day for students to cross paths with kids that are not on their team though. So if, their best friend got teamed to a different team, they would see each other at lunch, and there's a chance they might see each other in gym or during electives, because gym and electives are all cross teamed. So there's students from all 3 teams in those classes.
Right. I think that's the end of them for you, Miss Carol.
All right.
Just a quick question that popped up while we were doing that. If you have twins or triplets, you can let Miss Carol know what your preference is on. Sometimes it's easier to have them on the same team, and sometimes it's not. So you just just send her a message and let you know what you would want to do. So one of the other purposes of having the kids on team is because it takes our large school, where we may have close to 400 sixth graders, and makes it a much smaller space. So that group of 130 kids will all stay in the same hallway for most of the day. And it just kind of allows that group of teachers to have time that they can talk about kids who are maybe struggling, or kids who are showing success, or just for them to plan so that there's make life a little easier for the students coming in. The other thing that we do to help our kids is we have our mentor time, which is every Monday. It's for 28 minutes. And that's kind of a little bit of a homeroom, but we do lots of different activities through there. And it's where we just kind of put them in with a much smaller group, gives them a chance for them to feel like they have an adult that they can talk to. They'll work with them through doing some goal setting. Sometimes we'll do some grade level competitions or some team activities, but those will be on every Monday. So as I mentioned, Nadia mentioned this at the beginning of the video, is just kind of staying informed with the things that are happening. You're not going to get the Friday message that your homeroom teacher might be sending home with your 5th graders now. It'll be more of a school-wide communication. You start to own a little bit more responsibility with looking at their grades in Infinite Campus. So we want to partner with you, but we just want to make sure that, you can always email the teachers. You'll be able to check their grades through Infinite Campus. And we'll still have parent-teacher conferences. Students and parents both have access through Canvas, and some of our teachers will use Google Classroom, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We will have some back-to-school events in August, a registration time and opportunity for the students to walk their schedule so that they'll be familiar where all their classes are. Over the summer, you'll hear about web orientation. Web stands for Where Everybody Belongs. And that is a chance for the kids to be able to meet other 6th graders. We're bringing students from 4 elementary schools. All will come together to form our 6th grade class. So this gives them a chance to get to know students from other schools. It also just kind of helps them to feel more comfortable walking their schedule. So when that information comes out, it's usually about the week before school begins. You should do everything you can to have your child attend the web orientation. There used to be a lot more information on our websites, but as you know, that kind of got crashed a little bit. So we're in the process of rebuilding that. There's always information that'll be on there. And we'll occasionally send, the auto dialers if it's something that we feel like is really important, then we'll call you or text you. But most of the time, you're going to get a weekly email from me. And just as a way, just kind of keep you informed of all the things that are happening at Crestview. So just a lot of people aren't driving their students to school. I know maybe you guys may have been impacted by the lack of bus routes, but most kids are bused to Crestview. There's a few students who live within a mile that have to walk. But if our students are being driven to school, we don't open the doors before 7 o'clock. The buses all unload at 7:15, but our first block doesn't start till 7:47. So if you're going to drive your student to school, it doesn't do you any good to get them there much early, because they really aren't doing anything until 7:47 unless they're eating breakfast. So if they get off the bus at 7:15, they will go eat breakfast and then they report to their first class. Most of them will read or play a game or something with their first hour teacher. But school will officially begin at 7:47. We dismiss at 2:39. And if you're being picked up, we ask that you pick up your child by 2:45. And on the days that we have after school activities, those will end at 3:40. And we ask that you have your child picked up by 3:45. So students can bring their cell phones to school, but they have to keep them put away. We know you'll want to, you want some, if your student has one, sometimes you want to make sure that they call you when they get off the bus or when they make it home. But if you need to get a hold of them during the school, you can call us. You don't need to text them or call them. We ask that they keep them up and put them in their locker. If they need to call you for some reason, they can come to the office and use one of our phones. Each one of the students will have their own locker. I have on here that they would typically need 2 locks. We got to wait and see what we're going to do with dressing out for PE. This year, all we did was shirts. So the students just ran into the locker room, changed their shirt, and came right back out. So there wasn't a need for that lock in the locker room because they didn't lock anything up. But also we weren't using our lockers for the full capacity. So they always had their backpacks with them. So there wasn't a need to go store some things in there. We haven't made a full decision about that. But if you have an opportunity over the summer when you're getting school supplies, it's helpful if you get 2 locks and then you get the ones that have the same combination. They often forget them. So if they have the same combination, both for PE and for the regular locker, it makes life easier on them. And our lockers are really skinny. They're only about this wide. So our CPO sells these organizers that hang, makes it much easier for the students to organize their locker. They will sell those at our back to school event in the fall. So your student will be issued a Chromebook. It will be theirs for all of middle school. Typically, we do that at our opening back to school event. The students will get their Chromebooks. It's their responsibility to take care of them. If they break, then they're responsible for the damage if it was their fault. Like sometimes we know things break and there's some insurance to cover that, but if we can tell that it was negligent, then they might be responsible for it. We haven't had very many that in my 6 years that the child's been responsible for. So we just ask that they take very good care of them. They need to set up a nice routine to making sure that they charge it every single night. They should leave the charger at home and charge it and then put it in their book bag and bring it to school every single day. It should come fully charged. We only have a few loaners. I think we have 6, and there's 1,200 kids. So if your child forgets their Chromebook, we'll first ask them to call you to see if they can bring it up. Second thing, they would have an opportunity to use one of the 6 loaners. But like I said, with only 6 and 1,200 kids, the odds of them getting a loaner is highly unlikely. So it's just important that they bring it with them every single day. So our teachers will utilize different learning platforms. All the teachers are expected to use Canvas. So they have to at least put their assignments, use the calendar in there and the inbox. But some of them will use it more than others for having all of their assignments in there. Students may take their tests within Canvas. Lots of classroom activities may be in there. And other teachers may still use Google Classroom, but they will still have links back to Canvas to be able to get to the Google Classroom. Canvas should be the primary way that teachers are communicating what the work is for the students. Just the last note on there is some teachers will use Canvas to grade the assignments for them. but they also do other activities that are not in Canvas that may also count as a grade. So you might see student scores that might appear in the Canvas platform, but those are not their grade. Whatever is posted in Infinite Campus will be their official grades. I mentioned after school activities. So we have a lot of things that students can get involved in. There's simple things after school like chess and dance, and there's larger things like theater and being part of a play or a musical. We have contests with math and science. We have a geography bee and spelling bee. Currently this year, we just have activities on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We're hoping that we'll have better reliable bus service, and we'll have Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays next year. That would be our goal. But we would like to have the students involved in as many of the activities that they can after school. And then when we get back to school, we usually don't start them for the first couple of weeks, give students time to get used to their regular routine. And then we'll teach them about what the process is for them to be able to sign up for the activities. Some of them require a few, like almost like a tryout, like not everybody can be an honor choir or jazz band or rocking strings, but if you're into music programs, those music teachers would teach you how, or tell you how you can try out to be part of those activities. And then we do a district-wide track, volleyball, and cross-country meets. So the PE teachers would let the students know those aren't regular activities that happen all the time. Like our volleyball, district-wide volleyball tournament is on the 18th, coming up in a couple weeks. So any student who wants to participate, you can try out during PE, but there's lots of things for our kids to do outside of the classroom. And there is an activity bus. So if you can't pick up your child, they can sign up to ride the activity bus. There's only one activity bus that'll take the students home that live in St. Louis City. And there's one bus that takes home the students that live as a Rockwood resident. If you can imagine, one bus can only hold 40 kids. So it's a first come, first served basis to get on that bus. And you also know that it may take an hour by the time it travels our entire attendance area to be able to get home. So just keep that in mind when the activities start in the fall, if your child wants to get on one of the activity buses. And I think that's the end of our formal presentation. I will stop sharing my screen there for a minute.
All right, we have gotten some good questions in the chat. One was, and you probably know this, Dr. Jansen, average class size. What is our average class size?
I mean, I don't have the actual math in front of me, but we're usually 20 to 24 is about where the average class will end up. It depends on the content area. Our language arts classes are typically smaller because we have 2 teachers on the grade. There may be a math class that may have 28 or 29 kids in there occasionally. PE classes are larger. They could have 32. If you're in band or choir, those can be a much larger class. But some electives may only have 15 or 16. It just kind of depends, but most of the time it's in like a 20 to 24 class size number.
All right, I got another question about challenge classes and how to get our children enrolled in challenge classes. And that information will be sent out later in the spring. So the 5th grade teachers give some input and some recommendations on that. But, you know, parents really, they should consider, because the 5th grade teachers have a good idea of what's expected in middle school. So it's good, really good feedback to consider, but if parents want to override those, they can. And so anyway, that information will be sent out later in the spring about challenge classes. Another question was about school supplies. And I would advise waiting until we have the event before school where students can come pick up or like put things in their locker. In years past, we've called it the ice cream social, but we have that just a few days before school starts when students walk their schedule and they can meet their teachers and they can, you know, get settled in their locker. And at that point, teachers will have a class list or things that are needed for their team. And they might be able to give you a better idea about school supplies. I mean, wouldn't you say, Dr. Jansen, that
Yeah,
overall?
I was gonna jump in
Yeah.
on there. There's,
Mhm.
we publish the school supply list, usually maybe in May before we leave. Like, we'll talk to the teams and see if there's something specific. It's a pretty generic list about the number of folders or things like that. But you'll have that before it becomes like cheap school supply weekend at Target. That list will be available on our website for you to be able to have access to that. And I just want to follow up, Ms. Carroll, about the challenge classes. So you will get recommendations that'll be sent directly to the parents from our data department. Glenn Hancock is the person that handles that. So as parents, you'll get a link to see what was recommended for your students. And then you can either accept it, you can make some changes to it, and then resubmit it. And then all of that will come back directly to it. There's no paper forms with that. It's all done digitally. You'll just have to click on a couple links in order to make sure that the correct classes are what you want your child to have.
All right, there was a question about, can students switch electives each year? Definitely. So like I said, I encourage kids to try something new this sixth grade year. Try a music class or try a theater class. And if it's not your thing, then you'll get a chance around this time next year to sign up for your seventh grade electives. Taking the intro to French or intro to Spanish class might help kids kind of figure out which language they're more interested in continuing, if they wanted to take a world language in seventh and eighth grade, or, continue their music classes. So anyway, definitely there's opportunities to switch electives from year to year.
There was a question about turning in the forms, Ms. Carroll. So
okay.
We have some of them that were turned in, but if your child hasn't turned in their form to register, whatever day we're back at school. So if we're at school Friday, they can turn it in then. If we're not back to school till Monday, that's fine. We probably won't go back over to the elementary schools until after school on Monday to pick up the next round of them. So you just get it to your fifth grade teacher as soon as you can. Another one about, does teams apply to academic stretch? It does not. Students are just placed in there based upon what works best for their schedule. So they're not teamed for the time that they go to stretch. A little reminder that from one of the experienced parents on here, that locker organizers that you buy a lot of times from Target or Walmart typically don't fit in the locker. They're too deep. So you don't necessarily go out and buy one of those thinking it's going to be the greatest thing for the kids to squeeze in their lockers. A lot of times it doesn't fit. Are students separated by grade, or are they all mixed together? So we have our building divided into 3 different sections. Basically, there's 2 hallways for 7th grade, 2 hallways for our 8th grade, and like 3 halls for 6th grade, with 2 being upstairs and 1 being downstairs. So the majority of the day, the 6th graders will spend with 6th graders. There are times where there may be in passing time, where the 6th and 7th grade students will change classes at the exact same time. But their classes where they're sitting in with students will just be with 6th graders.
All right, this is a question about, if a student doesn't start in a challenge class in 6th grade, can they take it in 7th or 8th, or are they kind of locked on that track? No, definitely. We have kids that start out in challenge classes in 6th grade, and it's, they're overwhelmed, they're stressed out. We decide to make a change in 7th grade, and vice versa. There's kids that, really are performing well in the grade level classes. Their teachers think they can handle a challenge class, and we'll make adjustments there. So that definitely happens each year. And the transition to 6th grade is a big one. So even if your child's like recommended for challenge across the board, maybe if there's an area that they're not as passionate about, they don't necessarily need to take every challenge class that they're recommended for. They can pick and choose and, take classes in areas that they're really drawn to and interested in. If you feel like they're a kid that, might get overwhelmed or might not manage their stress well, then you don't have to go by those recommendations. Somebody else asked, is there a transition camp or class over the summer to help orient new sixth graders? There has been in the past. It's offered through community ed, and it's called like Welcome to Middle School. So you can find that if you go to the Rockwood Parkway Community Ed website. You can see if that is something that they're offering this year. But we also do have that web event that is a week or two before school starts, where incoming sixth graders can meet eighth grade web leaders and, get oriented with the school. We'll also plan to have tours for sixth graders in April, so they can come over to Crestview, walk the building. They'll get a chance to get a snack in the cafeteria and fill out a survey. And so anyway, that's just a fun opportunity for them to get oriented as well.
Do you have any, do you need to take a language in sixth grade? No, that's totally, it's not necessary. The sixth grade languages are really just an introduction to Spanish and to French. You learn a lot more about the cultures than you really do the language. It would just be some initial language that would be in sixth grade. Had a question about how many times you go to your locker daily. So I'll tell you that previously it used to be all the time. Last year it was never. And then this year they get to go twice. So as we've gone through different COVID restrictions in our school building, we've had to make changes so that kids weren't all huddled up together in the locker. So we will see what next year brings us about how often kids will get to go to the locker.
There was a question just now about, is there a limit on a number of after-school activity classes that a student can participate in? No. In fact, sometimes there's conflicts where, their jazz bands meeting at the same time as NHS and they need to be at both or want to split the time or whatever. So definitely encourage your kid to get involved in any activity that they're drawn to, and they don't have to make every meeting for the most part. I would say, like, overall, there might be situations where they have to, or where they have to, it's a mandatory deal. But anyway, they can participate and join as many clubs as they want, try new things out, and see what fits for them.
So there was some question asked about some common challenges that sixth graders face initially till they settle down with the new environment. So I'll share a couple, and then Ms. Carroll might as well. I mean, a couple of the things is just having a lot of different teachers. So getting to understand that there's different expectations in math class and language arts class, and knowing that I'll have homework that's due tomorrow, and then having the block schedule. And now that homework isn't due until 2 days from now because I had the class every other day. So we give our sixth graders a planner. So what they really need to do is make sure that they're utilizing that and writing down their assignments after they leave each class, so that will help them to stay organized. They're being able to find the classes is super easy for students. They figure it out within the very first day or two. That's not really an issue. I think they feel the stress of grades sometimes a little bit more, where some of the things in elementary school may not have actually gone into a grade book, but a lot more things will as a middle schooler. So just getting to understand, like, I really have to complete these assignments and get all of them turned in. And if your student's not a reader, the reading expectation of 20 to 30 minutes every night of reading is oftentimes a challenge for students who aren't currently doing that. You have anything you want to add, Ms. Carroll?
No, I think that covered a lot of the challenges we see with the academic challenges. And yeah, I think the AV schedule and navigating the building, that seems to be what parents are nervous about, but kids pick it up really quickly. But I think, like, socially, a lot of kids at this age are getting on new social media platforms and that kind of thing. So that's just that is a challenge for parents. And I would just encourage you to, make sure that to monitor that. We see a lot in the counseling office, things that started on social media, but so, I mean, I think this age overall, it is a time of a lot of change, and just kids trying to navigate it all. So, but I think, yeah, using a planner, staying organized, communicating with teachers, trying to self-advocate, those are all challenges for sixth graders, especially.
I'm just curious. I created a quick poll here of how many people it's their first time having a child at Crestview or who had children attend previously. So if you wouldn't mind just doing a quick response, we can kind of get an idea of where we're at.
I know I see a lot of familiar last names, so
Right.
some families we've had before.
We're almost there. Almost everybody answered. We're getting there. All right. So there are, Miss Carol, it's 82 out of our 150 are new, and so that's quite a few, that that'll have a new experience here at Crestview. When Miss Carol talked a little bit about the social media piece of it, that does become a big deal. It's just a matter of making sure that you're staying on top of what they're doing, just so they don't get involved in foolish things that may pop up on there. That's one of the reasons we ask them to keep their phones put away during the school day. Since we've started that, we've seen so fewer incidences coming to the guidance offices about things kids are seeing or hearing on social media. It allows them to just put it away and not worry whether or not somebody answered their text or opened a Snapchat or whatever it is. They don't even have to worry about it because all the kids have their phones put away. So it's beneficial for us and for the students that those are put away during the school day. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. I don't see any other popping up. Any on your
I
end?
don't either. The last one I just answered, a couple of them I've answered directly in the chat back to the person, but just about, what else needs to be done for the enrollment at this point. It's just filling out that course selection form that they receive from their fifth grade teacher and returning it to the fifth grade teacher whenever we're back to school. I think the deadline was Friday, but the first day back, just make sure that you get that submitted. And then if I have any questions, like I said, I'll reach out to you directly, but email me or, I'll be checking, even though we're off, I can try to respond to emails if you have questions. I'm going to go ahead and I put it in the chat at the beginning, but I'm going to paste the course description guide if you want to dive in there into that site and read more about those sixth grade electives if you're still having trouble choosing those for your child. And I look forward to working with all of your children and getting to know your families. And I appreciate your time tonight.
I have a couple other closing thoughts for you all. We plan to have the fifth graders, calling them sixth graders already, fifth graders come visit us. I believe we have dates set in April or May. So they have an opportunity to come in the building, kind of see some things that are happening. Typically, we let them get a snack or something while they're in our cafeteria, so they can look at that as an opportunity to be able to come and be part of Crestview. I want to do a plug for our music programs. We've had outstanding music programs. If your child's considering it, I would recommend that they join. Kids just going through both middle school and high school, those that are typically involved in a music class like that typically have a higher GPA and perform better in class than those who are not in a music program. So it's just something to think about. It kind of keeps them focused on something else outside of the school day. So I appreciate your time. If there are other questions, you guys can certainly email myself or Miss Carol. We did record this, so we'll probably send a follow-up email to all the families with, a couple links to this, the website, and anything else that we feel like you guys might need. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. Enjoy your snow day again tomorrow, and we'll see what Friday brings us. So thanks again for all of you for joining us tonight. We wish we could have been there in person with you, but we felt you needed to have this information as soon as possible. So thank you very much. We look forward to working with your students and continuing to work with your family, as I see some very familiar faces on the screen and on our list of participants. So have a great evening. Thank you.